Okay, so you guys are joining me on the way to a local installation which we are doing at the moment. It is, I believe, a 60 square meter job, a driveway I believe it is. So I'm just going to head down and go and see the lads, see how they're getting on, and I'm going to share and show you guys how we set up, along with how we actually install the top layer of a resin bound surface. So I'm on the way to the job now and I'll see you over there shortly.
So when I arrived at the job, we were probably about 2/3 of the way through, so let's dive straight into the mixing process. The first 2 bags of aggregates went straight into the mixer and then began mixing up, as you guys can see, using the Rhinovator forced action mixer. At the same time, Marcus deposited the hardener into the resin and then mixed that up with a paddle mixer in order to ensure a smooth, consistent resin mix, which could then be deposited into the mixer and get that resin and hardener working its way in with all the aggregates, making sure that we have a consistent mix. Thereafter, the final 2 bags of aggregates went into the mixer to make up the 4 bags of aggregates in total and 7.5 kilograms of resin and hardener mix, and then finished off with some binding quartz too. Now once mixed, it will begin a thermosetting chemical reaction where the mix actually begins to cure, so it is important to move fairly quickly and don't leave the mix in the mixer for too long. So it was time then to deposit the mix into the wheelbarrow and then get it down onto the surface, ready for it to be troweled down. I'll switch on to a time lapse so you can see roughly about an hour's worth of mixing and troweling taking place, and just how quickly that this can actually be done in practice. You will be able to see that we deposit the mix down in manageable size piles, and then we'll spread the mix out and level it out using a screed bar, and then we'll also use a steel bar to keep our levels consistent at a 20mm depth. Then it's just a case of troweling it down smoothly, so take a look at the time lapse to see this in action. Then finally we'll sprinkle some fine crushed glass onto the surface for additional slip resistance as the surface is curing, and it really does make a big difference. Then finally we'll clean out the mixer. Now we do typically recommend that you clean the drum out every 10 mixers or so, but we actually left this mixer for the whole job, and you can see just how little the resin buildup is. All we did is take a rag and some drum cleaner to it, and the drum cleans down really easily.
Yeah, it's still mad how this just cleans down.
Lovely, isn't it? Lovely. Considering it was 18 mixers.
It's helped on by the fact that the drum is made of polypropylene, and you may have noticed a slight flex in the drum too whilst it was mixing. This also helps keep the drum clean because as it's rotating, it means the resin isn't sticking to it. I will leave a link to the Rhinovator down in the description below if you're interested in buying one. And here is the end result from the 60 square meter install.
Okay, so just finished up job number 1 for the day. I've just left the lads to just finishing up packing up the van now, and we're going to head round now onto another job and start another job which is being installed as well in a slightly different colour. It's only about 14 square meters, little patio I think it is, so let's head over there now. Okay, so we've just arrived at the second job now. We're all set up. We've got the Rhinovator mixer which is set up. We've got our bags of stone and resin and hardener. Pretty much all good to go. It is literally just a 14 square meter patio that literally just goes up to the front door and then round the back to the back gate. So it should only take a couple of hours or so, maybe a little bit less, to finish the install on this one.
So first up, we're doing the final bits of prep on the job, just taping up the wheelbarrow to make sure that that's protected when the resin goes into it, along with just sealing the remaining parts of the surface as well, where we've got some exposed concrete from the block work that's taken place. Jack's also just putting down a fiberglass webbing over the joint between the concrete haunch and the rubber base, which prevents any movement in the joint reflecting in the top surface. Then it's time to start that mixing process again, dropping in the first couple of 25 kilogram bags of aggregate into the mixer, getting the resin and hardener all mixed up until it's consistent and it's that real thick, gloopy kind of colour, and then we'll deposit the resin into the mixer, making sure that it's all thoroughly mixed together, and then finally dropping in the final 2 bags of 25 kilogram aggregate, and then letting that mix up for a couple of minutes or so before we trowel it down onto the surface, without forgetting that binding quartz too. In the meantime, we always prepare for the next mix, depositing the resin and the hardener into 2 separately weighed out buckets. This helps speed up the mixes throughout the course of the job. Now, space was a little bit tight on this job, so we had to be very careful putting it down onto the surface, making sure that we don't spill it over on the block work or even onto the neighbour's grass. It was time to trowel the surface down, so I'll leave you with a little bit of a time lapse to see this in action. And here's the finished product after about an hour and a half worth of install time and one very happy customer.
So that's install number 2 done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. If you did so, be sure to drop a like on it. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're new around here. And with that being said, I'll see you over in the next one.